Is Mythic Plus meta going to change with 1205 class changes? The short answer, probably yes. The long answer, I need 5 minutes to explain to you. Anyway, what's up guys, Petko here, welcome to the video. There's been a lot of changes happening for the patch 1205. I'm not gonna go through all of them. I made a video about that. You can check it out if you like to. I'm gonna go over how much exactly these classes that got changed will get their bonus damage increased or decreased. So looking here currently at Death Knight, if you guys didn't know, currently DK is considered one of the best specs in Mythic Plus, and if you look at top render your scores, you see DKs in a top ladder consistently in the World First Keys. They are going to be getting roughly, as it says here on Warcraft, between 7 and 10% AoE damage increase as a rider of the Apocalypse build, and roughly 3 to 4% more ST. That pretty much means more prior, more ST, more sustain, more burst, more AoE. Pretty much Unholy becomes even better than before. On top of this, Devourer DH, once again, one of the top specs currently in Mythic Plus, is getting even better. Roughly 6 to 8% more sustained damage, more AoE, and more ST. Now, this all makes little to no sense to me, but keep in mind, Blizzard have the bigger picture of exactly why they're doing that, and they have planned also future tuning ahead once we get closer to the MDI, etc. So this might not be the full picture. Don't be too harsh on judging. They're also buffing a restoration druid by 8%. I know what you're gonna tell me. Yes, the restoration druid. If you look at right now all the healer classes, right? So we're gonna go by classes or healers. You're gonna see Restoration Druid is pretty much the most played spec in the game. There are some monks, there are some shamans, but for the most part in top 12 is only a Restoration Druid. And yes, they are getting buffed by 8%, which makes little to no sense, but apparently they did perform slightly less in raiding, hence why they wanted to balance out that as well. I'm very surprised by the fact that nobody is talking about Balance Druid. Now, Balance Druid currently is actually doing quite well in Mythic Plus, especially if you have a Mistweaver Monk Killer. Balance is actually doing crazy damage. They're getting a small buff in AoE, but for the most part, one of the underrated specs in my opinion. Augmentation Invoker as a skill commander gets a 2% buff on ST and slightly a nerf in AoE. Anything relevant here, Hunter is getting a 10% ST buff and AoE buff minus 10%. 10% buff on single target, but has lost most of its passive cleave and suffers massive DPS losses when target swapping or when the fight forces a new target onto. Nerf to Light Binded Vanguard is about 13%, and the spec can no longer 2 targets in Mythic Plus. Pretty much, Hunter is trash. That's it. Survivor getting a buff as well, nothing for mages, at least nothing significant. We see Brewmaster Mon getting a slight buff ahead here. Numbers are for Master of Harmony. Once again, nobody plays that. I believe a Shadow Pan is something they play all the time. I believe Augmentation does play Skill Commander and Plus for the most part, right? Nothing for Shamans as well. Restoration Shaman getting a 8% healing buff on top of the 30% more damage buffs. Demlock is getting between 3 to 5% ST nerfs and 3% more AoE. The skill in single target is based on how much haste the user has. Old Jailer didn't like haste. New Jailer like haste. The Jailer changes also reduces the importance of RNG procs. So pretty much a bit more consistent. You're going to lose some ST. You're going to gain some ST. Generally, Demon is still going to be considered one of the best. Obviously, Devourer and DK are getting buffs. So they might come ahead outside of that. However, I want you to remember every single thing today that we discuss. Oh yeah, Rogue. Outlaw Rogue's getting a 13% buff. Smoke Screen Talent is something that people have been playing with Trickster Outlaw. Same thing for Sub Rogue. Smoke Screen Talent seems to be the case here for the buffs, and they will be doing fantastic. I want you to remember right now the current meta, and I'm going to show you now the highest keys in the world, okay? So this is currently the highest keys in the world. As you can see, it is mostly going to be Brewmasters. There are some Guardian Druids right now, but Guardians are doing absolutely crazy damage. That's why in MDI, they are playing Guardian Druids. However, look at the first team in the world, which is the physical meta comp. So these guys, obviously, I know it's Mesara Caverns. I know the Purge Mesara Caverns gain so much time because they have Shaman here, but they're already doing this key on 21 with like 30 minutes on the time, which means following the buff they're getting next reset or tomorrow, Outlaw Rogue gets a 30% more damage. We have Iron's Warrior getting, well, some adjustments, more ST, slightly less AoE. We have Restoration getting a roughly 30% buff in damage and also 8% more healing. And I don't think there's anything changing for Pharaoh, right? There's okay, it says 0.7% changes. I don't even know where they pull that shit out, but sure, I take it. So more and more people are swapping to physical comp because it is, in my opinion, more consistent for uncoordinated groups. So if you are pugging, if you are playing in a mid-level key range, this might be a much better comp. And the reason why that is because first of all, you already have more interrupts. Okay, so because you're playing melee interrupts usually is shorter than range interrupts, right? Again, there are some exceptions here. Shaman says hello. Shaman healer has another way to interrupt as well. The only healer currently with interrupts, and for the most part, these guys don't really rely as much on cooldowns compared, for example, to Death Knight or let's say Warlock Devourer. Like Outlaw Rogue has perma damage, pretty much AR every 35 to 40 seconds, sometimes less, sometimes more, depends on the pools. Pharaoh Druid has cooldowns, but their sustain damage is insane. Arms Warrior sustain damage also crazy strong. So for the most part, even if you fuck up that out, you can just chain some pack into it and you'll be fine for the most part. So hence why I'm leaning towards this comp actually either overtaking or being equally strong highest level keys, or just being better in some of the keys. Do keep in mind that the Devourer DH and Decays are also getting a buff, plus the Restoration Druid also getting a buff, so they're gonna be equally strong in some of the key levels. And obviously there are some keys where the caster comp will perform better on the highest or the highest keys. But right now, I'm talking about all of you that are playing average level keys, slightly above average, let's say between 13 to 16. Physical comp actually could be a better choice for you. Again, not talking about the water first keys or like, you know, top 0.1%. Talking about like the mass amount of people that are playing casual level keys. I feel like this might be a better pickup for all of you. Now, do keep in mind that once again, I know you guys are disappointed, and you can swap this comp around. Like, you don't have to play with Pharaoh Druid, for example, or Restoration Shaman. I mean, technically these two guys should be locked in, but you can, for example, play a Hunter instead of, let's say, the Druid. You can play BM Hunter, you can play Survival Hunter. By the way, Survival Hunter is getting pretty decent buffs coming this Wednesday or Tuesday night, so keep watch out for them, because I believe they are gonna be kind of like a hidden gem. You might even swap away from Beastmaster Hunter and play Survival instead. I don't know. I've seen a lot of hunters deciding to swap around, but there is nothing confirmed whether Survival is better than BM, but I would assume both are pretty much on the same wavelength. Okay, so meta is definitely swinging hard, and for the most part, we're seeing more and more people swapping to physical comp. However, for me, on the highest keys, you still are likely going to see a full caster comp. But then again, it all depends on the key levels you play. That's it, boys. Hope this was a productive / informative video. If you like this kind of content in general, like to support the channel, make sure to like the content, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for more content. Bye for now. Have a patch day.